Okay, so what if I told you the stars could actually have a say in the stock market? It sounds out there, I know, but today we're diving into that exact idea. We're breaking down a recent live stream from a financial astrologer who's using planetary alignments, not algorithms, to get a read on where major assets are headed. And right off the bat, this is the most important thing to understand. This isn't about someone saying, Bitcoin will hit X dollars. Nope. The whole point of this method is about figuring out when the big market moves are most likely to happen. It's all about the timing.
So, how in the world do you even start to read the financial stars? Let's get into the basic principles that this particular astrologer is working with.
So here's the core idea. You take an asset like Bitcoin and you give it a birth chart based on a key date, maybe when it was launched. Then you track where the planets are now and see how they interact with that original chart. The goal isn't to guess if the price goes up or down. It's to find these windows of really high energy, high volatility, where a big move is practically inevitable. All right, so how does this actually look when you apply it? Well, the live stream kicked things off with Bitcoin, and let me tell you, the forecast for March looked like a real roller coaster.
And this is really the main headline for Bitcoin, according to this forecast. The idea is that March is just full of these choppy, short-term ups and downs. It's not the start of some new epic bull run. The prediction is that the real bottom, a much more significant dip, is actually still on the horizon for later this spring.
And you know, what's really interesting is just how specific the timing gets. The month is basically broken into 3 distinct phases. It kicks off with a word of caution around the 7th and 8th. Then, the middle of the month is flagged for super high volatility and a big risk of pullbacks. And finally, the end of the month is just stacked with these unfavorable alignments, which could mean even more downward pressure. But it's not just about crypto. The astrologer also dove into precious metals. And honestly, this is where the story gets even more fascinating. The prediction is that gold and silver are on 2 totally different cosmic tracks. And this lays out the contrast perfectly. For gold, the prediction is this one last sharp spike up right before a big drop. But for silver, it's the complete opposite. A pretty significant dip is expected to happen first, and that dip is what sets the stage for a powerful blast-off. 2 metals, 2 very different stories.
So if we look at the timeline for gold, you can really see that pattern play out. You've got these little pockets of caution mid-month, and then boom, a potential rapid spike between the 20th and 22nd. But it doesn't end there. The forecast closes out March with a pretty significant pullback expected in those final few days.
Now, for silver, the astrologer used this really powerful metaphor to paint a picture of what's coming. And they called it the silver arrow. The idea is that the dip we see in late March isn't just a random drop. It's the necessary pullback, like drawing an arrow back on a bow. All the tension that builds up during that dip is what's supposed to fuel this powerful upward launch that comes next. So that dip is actually the setup for the rally. Okay, so we've looked at the individual assets, but the single biggest prediction from this whole live stream wasn't about just Bitcoin or just gold. Nope, it was about all of them, all at once. So what is this one cosmic event that's predicted to shake up everything? Crypto, commodities, stocks, the whole shebang. Well, this is it. The biggest call is for a period of intense, synchronized crisis, where all these major markets that often move in completely different directions are expected to hit their bottoms at the same time. We're talking about a moment of maximum financial stress, right across the board. So what's supposedly causing this? Well, the source points to a kind of astrological perfect storm. First, you've got this massive planetary traffic jam in Aries, which is the sign of conflict. Then you've got the aftershocks from a recent eclipse that's seen as a kind of reset button for finance. And the final piece, this all happens to hit critical stress points in the birth charts of multiple assets, all at the same time. And the timeline for all this is incredibly specific. The forecast says this big downturn starts in late April. The real bottom is expected to hit in early May, but here's the kicker. The prediction also calls for a recovery that's just as fast and dramatic as the fall. So, after all these cosmic charts and critical dates, what's the actual bottom line? What are we supposed to take away from all this? Well, it really brings us right back to where we started. The source makes it clear that this isn't about being right 100% of the time. The goal of financial astrology from this perspective is to use these planetary cycles to flag periods of extreme volatility, to identify those moments of greatest risk, and maybe, just maybe, the moments of greatest opportunity. At the end of the day, whether you're looking at planetary patterns or economic data, everyone's just trying to find an edge to understand the rhythm of the market. And it really leaves you with a fascinating question. In a world run by algorithms and high frequency trading, could an ancient system based on the stars offer a totally different and maybe even useful way of looking at things?